watch back, giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion, going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Mark
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. Pierre, how are you today?
I'm well, James. How are you doing?
Uh-oh. Am I in trouble?
No.
Oh, okay. Usually when
Other people are, but you're not.
Okay. Usually when people say James that aren't my mom.
No, you're in my phone as James Murphy. So I don't know. I've been talking and texting with you a lot. So I said I might as well call him James today.
It's all good.
You're not in trouble with me ever. Well, you were in trouble with me once and we straightened it out fast.
Yes, I know. And I'll probably will be again because I'm human. But
no, it's good.
The thing that I've learned, Pierre, and I think we all learn this, is you heed the advice and you apply it as long as you learn from your mistakes. Yeah. And speaking of, would one Kirill Kaprizov, could he be learning from a mistake by reportedly turning down what to this point would be the highest NHL contract ever that would have paid him an annual of $17 million, reportedly? There's been various reports. We have not confirmed it. I've tried to, follow it up with my sources right now, and I'll flat out say, I asked Bill Guerin on the record. He said no comment. So we don't know if any of it's true. But if it is true, Pierre, I would have taken that money and run. That's what I'd do. But I'm not in Kirill's spot. So
I'm staying out of this one just because I think there are too many moving parts. And part of it is the Players Association. Part of it is the agent. And it's not the agent's fault. He's got a job to do for the client. And I think the agent's involved in trying to do a job for the Players Association as well. And this one's a different negotiation. I keep hearing this too. And this is why I'm saying it's kind of a weird day. There's so many people saying, yeah, this is kind of like Connor McDavid. No, it's not.
No,
this is not even close. This is actually a negotiation. Connor McDavid's not a negotiation. Connor McDavid's going to say, I'll take this. This is how many years, and let's just do the deal. And they'll do that. They'll do the deal. Right.
You make a great point there, Pierre, and I totally agree with it about the influence of the Players Association on this and agents and just the union as a whole. And that's their job, is to try and get their whole union as much money as they can get. We spoke about it yesterday, Pierre, where, some people speculate whether Connor might take a little less to help his team, right? And yet we see something where maybe, and this is just us, looking at it from afar. I'm not reporting this as fact, but we see this where maybe the union's playing a role right now. Hey, just hold up a bit. You might be able to get a little more. What happens then? And I'm not connecting McDavid's negotiation. I'm connecting this union-wise. What do you think would happen if Connor did take a little less than he could get? Would the union frown upon that?
I don't know if they'd frown because he's a very important figure for them. So I don't know about that. Here's what I do think, though, is part of this. Everybody's talking about the cap going up, and you've been very prominent on a lot of these discussions in a good way, because I know you're tied into other sides, not just the NHL side, but the other side. And you've done very good reporting on this, Jimmy. You really have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So here's where I'm a little, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it. I think the league or the agents are concerned that teams aren't spending to the cap. They thought there was going to be this massive bonanza of teams spending to the cap. And I've told James this. I've told Jimmy this. Go look at Puckpedia right now. And we're not talking about like 4 or 5 million under. We're talking double digits under the cap.
Mm-hmm.
So while everybody's speculating that there's been this massive bonanza for players and the salaries to just skyrocket, I'm not sure there's an appetite for ownership to do that right now.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this. I mean, not trying to be mean, like we're way under the radar on this because we're not out tooting our horn, but I'll just tell you, Jimmy and I have been talking about this a lot.
Right. And look, we're not trying to paint a negative picture. We're just trying to caution people, because there's so many Pierre in our business who just, as we pointed out in the beginning of the summer, we're just like, this is the summer of the offer sheet. It's wait to see how many will come, and none come, and you called this from the get-go, just pump the brakes a bit. There's a lot of things that aren't just connected to the game on the ice. that are are preventing us from seeing maybe the expectations of offer sheets or the expectations of record-breaking deals that we thought or think will be coming. And Pierre, we were just talking about it off the air. When it comes down, like a lot of teams right now are combining their TV and radio broadcasts. And, when you see teams making cutbacks like that, whether it be like that or whether a team cuts back a bit on their scouting staff, that's going to be an indication that, well, if they're doing that, they're not going to spend completely to the cap because
no, it's just
they're
it's
hurting.
something. Yeah, it's something to monitor. That's all I'm saying. Again,
Right.
this is just the reality of where the business is right now, and
Yep.
we'll see. I mean, people are wondering, but I also think that the value of franchises, and this is a positive, is continue to go up. And expansion. If they're going to get 2 billion for an expansion franchise, that's significant.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
And maybe, Pierre, maybe this is just a wait and see right now by a lot of teams. Let's see where this goes. As we've discussed, there's outside factors as much as the economy. If the economy doesn't improve, that can affect the cap and all that. And, how many people can afford to go to games. So maybe teams are just in a wait and see approach, and we'll see where it goes. I hope.
I agree.
Pierre, we're going to be talking to our great friend, Phil Bourque, former Pittsburgh Penguin, someone you coach. We love having him on the eye test here. We're going to bring him on shortly to talk about Sidney Crosby and the latest news on him that we touched on yesterday, and get into some Penguins, forecasting for the season. I think we're all kind of looking at them as a rebuilding team, but what exactly does that mean? Is it a full out rebuild? Is it a, retool? Where does Phil think they're going to go? Not this year, but also in the coming years after. So we'll have Phil Bourque on for that. And Pierre, a player that we were just talking about him off the air, Justin Carbonell signs with the St. Louis Blues there. And we both agreed. It was interesting. We remember when he didn't go to Boston College, maybe that was an indication. Maybe the Blues wanted him to be able to sign the ELC, and the only way he could do that was go the junior route to the Q. I haven't seen him play, Pierre. You probably know more about him, but I've heard a lot of people rave about him. What can you tell our listeners?
Very good offensive player. Very good offensive player. When he chooses to play hard every night, he's really good. I think that's going to be the consistency factor. His game's going to have to improve. Is he a pro player? Yeah, the answer, he is. He's a pro. He's a pro style player. There's no question he's a pro style player.
Got me thinking too, as we were sitting here, they've got some guys coming, Pierre, in that system. The Blues are really, yeah.
No, they do. Well, you think about it, they were able to trade Zachary Bolduc, who's a good player. There's a reason why they're able to trade him, because they think they have guys coming, and they get a defenseman that they desperately needed in Logan Mailloux. So they've done some really good things. I just like what's happening in St. Louis. I like the messaging from Jimmy Montgomery. I like the fact there hasn't been any fallout with him and Claude Julien. I like the fact that Steve Ott is still there. They've got a very solid staff. There's a lot of experience on that staff. It's a good staff. That makes players better, especially young guys, which is good. Robert Thomas is just scratching the surface. Robert Thomas is going to be a star player. I know there are all these rumors and innuendo about Jordan Kyrou. We'll see what happens with Jordan. I mean, nobody really knows, but I think
he's still blue.
I think he'll be, he's still there. And everybody knows about the heist from Edmonton last year. Everybody knows. So they're good. They're trending the right way. There's no question St. Louis is trending the right way.
Quickly before we move on from them, in your eyes, is Binnington still the number one guy for Hockey Canada?
I think at this point, I think at this point is, I mean, a lot of it's going to come down. Some of these, both on the American and Canadian side in particular, they think the team's already picked. I don't believe that to be true. I don't, based on people that I've spoken with. And I think the first 10 to 12 games are going to dictate a lot for a lot of players.
Yep.
Well, obviously, everybody knows who the top players are. They're not going anywhere. They're staying.
Right.
But the rest of the roster could change. I get there was a lot of stuff about Lane Hudson and all. I think there's probably people wishing there was an eraser, that they didn't say some of the things they said.
That was overblown.
Yeah. So I still think Lane's got a legitimate chance to be there for USA.
I
really do.
And I'll tell you this. I mean, I just remember I was probably only 5 years into the job, 2010. that Olympic year when Steve Eisman was scouting for the team, going around looking at different players, maybe to add on at the end. And that was in mid-December, Pierre, where he was still looking for, like right before they announced it, he was in Boston. I remember it like it was yesterday. They were playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he was there, obviously, for them. But and he asked me straight out. I was sitting next to him in the press box. It's probably one of my greatest moments. He says, "What do you think of Patrice Bergeron? I want your honest opinion, not the Boston in you. I want your honest opinion. Why should I put him on this team?" And I'm like, "You're really asking?" In my head, I'm like, "You're really asking me this?" But I told him what I thought. He made the team. He's one of the last additions to the team, as you remember. And I saw him, I think, later that season, and he just said, "Hey, good call on him." It was a proud moment. But I'm trying to say that this scouting and the decision making for these Olympic teams, especially USA and Canada, because their GMs are here, able to scout these guys in person as much as they want, it will go down to the wire. So don't jump the gun in terms
for some players, but most of them will be pretty set. I think they'll probably see a variation of 4 to 6 per country, depending on how guys do. Hey, if all the guys that were there at the orientation camp have great starts to the year, I don't know if it's going to be that easy for outsiders to get in.
Right. That's a good point.
But what happens if somebody gets hurt? What happens if somebody doesn't play well? You know, there's the potential. You asked me, this whole thing started about Binnington. I think Binnington will be the goalie for Canada. I do.
Yeah, I got you. Pierre, we're going to wait on Phil Bourque here right now. I saw a thing. Some people were talking about, the whole Sidney Crosby thing, and what if Montreal and the Penguins were to ever get into trade talks. There was a radio station, I will not throw them under the bus, in a very big NHL city, who suggested Demidov for Sidney Crosby. And I immediately said, whoa. Why would the Canadians trade their future 19-year-old star? Well, he'll be 20 probably by the time, if it ever happens. But why would they deal him away for a guy who at most they're probably going to get 3 to 4 years of? Not saying that Crosby wouldn't come in and help them and have an impact. I'm not downplaying what Crosby can still do at this point, but it just made no sense. That being said, I started to think about what they could give and, what assets they have to give. And as you and I discussed earlier, this is why Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton deserve a lot of credit, is that whether it's a trade for Crosby or whether it's a trade with any team for anyone, they have built their foundation where they have enough young assets and picks to make an impactful deal, right, without sacrificing the future. And I think
they can make deals. They've got enough assets to do that. I would not trade Demidov. I would not trade Slafkovsky. I would not trade Lane Hudson. I would not trade Nick Suzuki. I mean, there's certainly, I would not, people asked me about this yesterday. Would you trade Jacob Fowler? No. Mm-hmm. Why would I trade Jacob Fowler? Yeah. Go try to find Jacob Fowler. Let me know when you find him. I mean, they're not that easy to find. Now, I know Sidney Crosby's great. So I pose this question to Jimmy, and I just want everybody at home that's listening and is passionate about this, just think about this for 1 second and be honest with yourself when you ask yourself the question. What happens if Sidney Crosby does come to Montreal? And what happens if they don't make any progress at all and they lose in the first round? What happens? Well, especially if you traded Demidov.
Right. You got to make sure you're not making a trade where people are going to look at it.
What happens if you get a bad matchup? What happens if Suzuki gets hurt?
Yeah.
You're throwing everything in on one guy, which is great. But I can tell you, I remember when Craig Patrick made big deals. It wasn't just one guy. They were big deals, and you could do that then because there was no cap. It was a little different to do, but you put everything on one component. If it doesn't work, you've taken a pretty substantial step backwards.
Well, let's go to our good friend in Pittsburgh right now. Phil Bourque joining us. He does great work doing color commentary for the Penguins. And this is the hot topic around the NHL. Phil, let's get right to it. What were your initial thoughts when you saw Crosby's and then Pat Brasson's comments?
Hey, Jimmy, good to hear your voice. Good to see you. Pierre, also. Is that a golfer's tan you got going on, Pierre? What the hell is going on here?
Yeah, it's an outdoor workout thing. Come on.
It's an outdoor workout. What are you, out in your little thong little leotard with your kettlebells. What's going on back
I
there?
got it going on. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I found myself. I had to run around to do with my kids today, and I found myself kind of daydreaming about this kind of hot topic right now, and with Sidney Crosby, and his agent coming out and saying some very, upfront things. But I just kind of chimed in there at the end when you guys were talking, where it would have to be a absolutely complete perfect storm, and those are hard to find. Number one, because it would be a team that maybe lost their number one center, right? And they're on the cusp, they're on the edge, and really, when you think about the way the league is right now, who's on the edge? Who's on the cusp? Let's take Florida out of the mix, because it seems like for the next 10 years, they're going to be on the cusp and on the edge. But I guess you could throw Toronto in there. I guess you could throw Vegas in there. There's a few other teams you could throw that are right there. I don't know. Is Winnipeg there? I don't know about Winnipeg. But the point I'm trying to make is that those teams already have number one centers. So, sometimes you can have too many chefs in the kitchen. So just to say, let's just use Vegas to kind of, volleyball this around a little bit. So you're going to say to Jack Eichel, hey, Jack, take a back seat. We just brought Sid in. That's not going to skate. That's not going to fly. Number one. Number two, I think because Sid had 4 nations, I think because Sid has the Olympics, I think because Sid has the World Cup, I think because Sid is 36 points behind Mario Lemieux in points, he's 65 goals behind Mario in goals. I think those things kind of get his spidey senses up in an upright and locked position. And I think for Sid right now, that's enough. Again, I don't know how this season's going to go. If it goes down the toilet, maybe the three of us are having a different conversation in December. But I think at this point right now, I think Sid is very comfortable where he's at in his life, on and off the ice, and where the Penguins are at right now.
I love that. That's why he was a good player, because he wasn't shy and he had passion and energy and he actually had intelligence. Good job, Bubba. I agree with everything you just said. So here's my biggest question. How do the Penguins make sure that the first 25 games of the season are not a disaster?
No, you're right, because their start last year was not good in October. It started with first goal, first shot against the New York Rangers. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
My goodness, good with Tristan Jarry, and it just seemed to kind of do a bit of a toilet bowl downward spiral. I'll get to your question in a second, Pierre, because I was just kind of reviewing, kind of getting ready for next season already. Our season. Do you know only 3 times all year were the Penguins above 500, and those 3 times it was 1 game. So it was the whole season was a 1 step forward, 2 or 3 steps back. And it all started, to get to your question, Pierre, it started in October. They had a 6-game losing streak, and they were 4-7-1. And when you're the Pittsburgh Penguins, you can't afford that. They never came back from that. Yeah. So, you hear the whole saying that you can't win a cup in October. True, but you can lose the playoffs in October if you're a team that doesn't have all kinds of ammunition like the Penguins.
See, Jimmy, he's right on about that. You can't win a cup in October, November, but you can miss the playoffs in October, November. I completely agree with that.
On that note, you talk about having ammunition or depth behind Sid and Malkin. There's a lot of talk around Rust, a lot of talk around a lot of guys in this team in terms of trade rumors. They have not been traded to this point. Some people say, oh, well, maybe they tried and they just couldn't find the right match. But I wonder, Phil, and maybe you can shed some insight here. Is it more Dubas looking at it, saying exactly what we're saying right now? Let's keep these guys around for now. Try to get off to a good start. If we don't, then maybe we'll look more deeper into that.
And listen, I don't think that Kyle or anybody needs to or has genuflected to Sidney Crosby. But I think out of respect, I think that you got to make sure that Sid has somebody to play with. And you already moved Jake Gensel. That happened. Okay, it's gone. And that was an absolute perfect fit. That was as peanut butter and jelly as you'll ever see in the NHL, Jake and Sid. And now Brian Rust has taken his game to a whole nother level. 31 goals last year. Brian flippin' Rust with over 30 goals. Good for you, Rusty. And yeah, was it part of it playing with Sid? Yeah, but he created a lot off of things that Sid did, created goals on his own. And same with Raquel with 33 goals. So good for those guys, over 30. And I think you got to have those guys. Not only Sid, but listen, a little bit, but Gino too, right? Like who's going to play with Gino? It might be his last year as a Pittsburgh Penguin. I don't think it'll be his last year playing hockey, but probably his last year as a Pittsburgh Penguin. I just don't think you can kind of rip it down to the studs and just give them like nothing against Rutger McGroarty or Ville Koivunen or any of those other guys, Anthony Mantha. I just think you need established guys to play with Sid and Gino to see if you can't get something going out of the gate with a bunch of young, hungry guys coming into the lineup and a new head coach and Dan Muse.
Does Owen Pickering have a chance to start the season in Pittsburgh, or is he going to Wilkes-Barre?
Great question, Pierre. I think my knee-jerk would be start in Wilkes. We're loaded. We just got Connor Clifton, right-hand shot. We just got Matt Dumba, right-hand shot. And I know that Owen Pickering is a left-hand shot, but I like him. He came a long way last year. And in that same vein, in that same conversation, I hope I'm not stealing any thunder. I think because here in Pittsburgh, the two names get talked about a lot is Pickering and Harrison Brunick. And the difference is Brunick's got another year of junior left, right? Mm-hmm. And I think he's closer than Owen Pickering. I think he's a little bit more of a complete player. I mean, Pickering might have the size, but I think that Brunick is more of a player with the skill set, whether it's skating or between the ears. I think he's more NHL ready than Pickering.
Guys, a move that I thought went a little under the radar, and I wonder what it's going to mean for Tristan Jarry, is when they acquired Arturs Silovs. He's a guy, I remember Pierre and I loved watching him 2 playoffs ago, Pierre. Remember when he came in and had to fill in? And I like him. I think his kid's got a bright future. What does that mean for Jarry right now as they go into the season?
Fear. Fear is a healthy thing. I don't think any of us have enough fear in our life. Fear is the most powerful emotion. It moves us to do things that we don't think we can do. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Tristan feared Alex Nedeljkovic. I think he was too comfortable. And the thing about Shilovs is he's a bit of a wild card. I don't know if I started doing some digging, some research on him. He's a wild man. He's a character. He would have fit back in our early 90s days. Yeah, a little work hard, play hard, wink, wink, if you know what I mean. And you need some guys like that. The guys that aren't all buttoned up and I'm going to go home and eat my milk and cookies. It's okay. It's okay to live a la vida loca a little bit, but bring it on the ice. And I think he does. So that's maybe a roundabout way to answer your question, Jimmy. But I think Shilovs is a young, hungry guy that has proven he can do it in the NHL. Maybe not as a number one guy, but he's got some warm and fuzzies from that beating Nashville in the series and taking Edmonton to a Game 7 in the next round. That was Shilovs. And then to be the AHL MVP of the playoffs last year, he's going to come into this training camp with a little swagger and a little bounce in the step.
And I can tell you, I watched those American League games between Charlotte and Abbotsford, and in Charlotte, games 1 and 2, that guy played out of his mind. Like I'm telling you, he was really good. He was really good. So you talk about Shilovs, Phil. How about Murashov? Sergei Murashov. I understand he ripped it up in Wheeling and East Coast. I get that.
Yeah.
Is he ready to go to the next step? He's not ready for the NHL yet.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. But I think of all the players the young players, and there's Kindle, there's the young draft picks from this year. I don't think any of them are ready for plug and play. But I think out of the whole organization, I think the players, in just my humble estimation, Pierre, that I think are as close as anybody is Brunick and Marashov. Now, Marashov, he absolutely destroyed the East Coast League. I think he had a 14-game win streak. He started his career in Wilkes-Barre. I think he had an 11-game win streak. He's a silly sider, right? He catches with the right hand. And he's not that big. As you know, if you're not going to be big, you got to be incredibly quick and incredibly smart to be a goaltender in the NHL. He's got both. He's a wild card that he might come into this training camp. And listen, Kyle Dubas has already said, listen, all the cards are on the table now. After these last 3 years of missing the playoffs, if this kid comes in and he is unbelievable in preseason games, he will be your starting goaltender against the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden on October the 7th. That's the way this organization is right now. And you got to like it, because if you're a young kid, you legitimately have a chance to make this hockey club if you're willing to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fair. It's going to be interesting, Jimmy. It really is, because, you know, I know Rutger McGrory's injured, and they got other guys coming. Phil talked. They got a bunch of Finnish kids down in the American League that are pretty good players. But it's going to be Phil's right. Like, I think this is going to be an interesting science experiment to watch. It is.
Yeah, for sure. Before I let you go, Phil, I just want to ask you a bit about how much you know about Dan Muse. Have you gotten to talk to him yet? You know, what do you think of that hire?
I know more about him from our mutual friend, Paul Vincent. Do you guys know Paul?
Yes.
Very well.
Arlington, Mass native like myself.
Yeah, good Massachusetts boy. Changed my career. For your viewers and listeners, he's a power skating coach. He's been doing it for 50 years. He's a former cop, which is just a great combination. But the reason I bring up Paul Vincent,
Stanley
Cup champion. Chicago. That's right. Yeah, with Chicago, right? He's really good friends with Dan Muse. And so I was on the phone for probably an hour with my good friend Paul Vincent, and he gave me some really great background on him. How he's a bit, for choice of better words, I think he's admitted it. He's a hockey nerd. Like, that's all. It's hockey, hockey, hockey. He loves to run. He loves to train, and he's a young, hungry guy that's had two teams that were President Trophy winners in the National Hockey League in Nashville and the Rangers. And the common denominator there is Dan Muse, the assistant coach on both those teams with Peter Laviolette, had one of the top 10 penalty killing units. In fact, I think it might have been top 5 or top 6 when they were winning the President's Trophy. So he's a details guy. And the only thing I hope he walks in that locker room, because if you've met Dan Muse before, he looks one way and he talks another way. Because he's kind of a smaller guy, you know, real thin in the face, bald. Nothing against that, Pierre. But when he walks in the room, he's got a baritone. He's got a swagger. And as you know, guys, if you're a head coach and you got Sid and you got Gino and you got Carlson, and you got Russ or Raquel, you got to walk in that locker room, and if they're lacing up their skates and you say something, they have to stop what they're doing and listen and watch you. I hope he can command that. I hope he's not intimidated by that locker room. I hope he kind of goes in with no fear, with just a brashness of, this is the way we're going to play. We're going to play Dan Muse, Pittsburgh Penguin hockey, and if you don't play that way, you're not going to play. And I hope he just kind of walks in and does that, because that would be the breath of fresh air that we need. And that's nothing against Mike Sullivan, but I think just over 10 years, Mike Sullivan's voice and his message maybe got a little bit dull.
Yeah, and also Mike was used to winning a whole lot, and the team didn't keep up with the way Mike wanted to coach. So, 10 years long. Hey, 10 years like winning a lottery. Come on, it's unbelievable. Amazing. Phil, you've been amazing. Can't wait to talk to you more. I know you've been working hard getting ready for the season, so that's awesome. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, last thing before go ahead, Jimmy.
How about this guy back on the Penguins broadcast team?
That's what I wanted to say. I just heard a few hours before coming on with you guys. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Welcome to the Black and Gold. Welcome back to the Black and Gold. That's great news. Good to have you on the radio. Yeah, man. So you and I will be talking more than usual, which will be great, because I love talking hockey with you. So welcome back to the Penguins organization, Pierre. Great to have you.
I missed it for a long time. I'm really happy and proud to be back. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate that a lot.
All right, Phil. Have a good one, my man. Thanks for joining us.
Jimmy, all the best, man. Good hockey talk.
Thanks, Phil.
Phil Bourque joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network, and he's already ribbing you like you're a teammate again there.
Well, no, we used to do that because, Phil was a guy that I used to have to coach a lot on the penalty kill and checking situations, so I spent a lot of time with him. You know, there'd be time, like, I remember Bobby Airy and Phil saying to me once we were in Calgary, and Al McInnes and Gary Suter playing the point, and they had a pretty good power play. Right. And I said, well, you just got to get in the lane on McGinnis. Force Suter to pass to McGinnis and just get in the lane. Bubba looks at me and Bobby looks at me and he says, "Why don't you get in the lane?" I started to laugh. I said, "Fair point. Fair point."
Pierre, he made it that last point when I asked him about Muse. I love what he said there too. And as he's talking about it, right? I reckoned back to Bruce Cassidy when he said it he's told the story a couple times, but he told it here in the eye test when he got his first head coaching gig with the Capitals. Remember, he admitted how intimidated he was, and he's like, I couldn't go into that room and take the command that Phil's speaking of. I couldn't grasp that. I was just too in awe, and it hurt him. And that's why he admitted that's why I didn't last there. So that's a very great point by Phil there in terms of how this will go.
And that's why mentorship matters. You know, I was fortunate to be around Bob, who had one way of taking command of a room, Bob Johnson, and Scotty, who had another way of taking command of the room. And before that, Joe Marsh at St. Lawrence. And then before that, Steve Sterling at Babson. I was with all these different men that were phenomenal at their craft. And they all they're four guys I just mentioned, all of them communicated differently. And they all got the attention of their players, and they all had different ways of doing it. So it was pretty neat. But I think you got to have that. So I know Muse is from Canton, Mass. He worked a lot with Laviolette. He's a big part of USA Hockey. And it's not his fault. He's going into a rebuild situation. I just don't know how well the team will be ready to go. If they ever had a rash of injuries, they're just not deep enough right now. That could be a problem.
And of course, speaking of, we're going to get to our Betway in a second, but Pierre, we want to talk about the Friendship Four, and we're excited to announce that Belfast Giants general manager Steve Thornton will be coming on the show tomorrow. But more, we're going to talk obviously about the Giants. We're going to talk about the Friendship Four, but obviously tomorrow marks, I can't believe, 24 years, Pierre, since 9/11. So obviously a somber day. Steve played 3 years, I believe, with Mark Bavis at Boston University, who Bavis, of course, went on to become a scout for the Kings and was on the second plane to hit the towers on 9/11 in 2001. I didn't know Bavis that well, Pierre, but as you and I were talking about it before the show today, I got to know Ace Bailey very well. And man, what a funny guy he was. And we'll get into that a little more tomorrow. But yeah, we were trading some stories. And when I told you what I knew of him, you're like, yep, that sounds like Ace.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Ace. I knew the Bavis brothers really well. They both went to Catholic Memorial. They were coached by Billy Hansen there. We used to run the Europa Cup out of Babson, and that we always had the team from Catholic Memorial, and the Bavises were on it. Bobby Richardson was at BU at the time. He coached and recruited both brothers to go there. They had real good careers at BU, really, really good careers at BU. They played for now Hall of Famer Jack Parker as well. So, interesting time. That whole day, even though it's 24 years ago, I remember it was like yesterday. I lost two players that we had at St. Lawrence that, were at Cantor Fitzgerald, and terrible, terrible story. Obviously one of the Bavises on the plane, and obviously Ace Bailey on the plane, and you start to do the math of the people that you knew, and you're like, wow, this is crazy.
It almost seemed like everybody knew someone, whether it was, first degree of separation or fifth. But, I mean, everyone had a connection. I remember that, Pierre. That was actually, I've told this story before to you, but I'll tell for our listeners and viewers. That was my first day on the beat covering the Bruins ever as a reporter. And I was driving up to Wilmington, where they used to practice, Wilmington, Mass, north of Boston. And they canceled the practice. They canceled the start of camp. And then I got back, and I remember watching with my grandmother just all the news coming in. And then they started to list some of the victims, and I saw Ace, and I was like, oh my God.
I was supposed to fly to New York that day. I'm not kidding you, for a golf tournament.
Oh my God.
Yep, I'm not kidding you. I was supposed to fly early in the morning from Montreal to New York, and everything got shut down.
Wasn't there a player that was supposed to be with Ace and Bavis that didn't get on the plane?
I don't know that.
I'll look it up.
There may have been, but I don't know that. I don't know that.
But I look forward to talking to Steve Thornton tomorrow. We'll reminisce.
He's such a gentleman. Stevie Thornton, he was a really good player. He was an outstanding player, but he's a good hockey man. I'm really glad that you did that, Jimmy. I thought that was really smart of you to get Stevie on here for a bunch of reasons, but mainly, the memorial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know I always want to do that every year is honor the victims of that, especially the ones we were close to. So we will do that tomorrow with Steve Thornton. And of course, we will be at the Friendship Four with Steve Thornton at the end of November, and again for the women's at the end of December into January. And of course, we want to thank Cara Group Travel and Sarah Stanton for all their help there. Really looking forward to that. I was actually as I told Pierre, I've been having some sleeping problems lately. So sometimes I'll get up and I'll just start to write or I'll start to read. And I just stumbled on my, I had got a new phone yesterday, finally, Pierre. And, I'm transferring everything over. And I stumbled into some pictures from last year. We were out in Belfast at the Harp and at the Harry Lemon. I'm like, that got me excited. I couldn't get back to sleep after that because I was so excited. But
the Harp's a special place. I mean, you've been upstairs at the Harp in that private room. That's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
So we're really looking forward to that. Listen, I actually, before the podcast today, a good friend of mine was asking for some hockey betting advice. What do you think of this guy? Can he do this? One guy that came up here, and I know you and I rave about all the time, and we rave about the team, is Leo Carlson. And my friend Scooter was asking me, Jimmy, do you think I should bet over 60 points or under for Leo Carlson? And I said over right away, and I felt very comfortable doing it. I don't know about you.
I'd say over.
Yeah, I think he's poised for
over. I'd say over. I think he's going to have a massive year. As long as, again, the caveat is just stay healthy.
Yep.
But I think he's going to have a good year, really good year.
Sure. So you can do all those over-unders on points, goals, assists, the team over-unders on wins and losses, who goes to the playoffs, who doesn't. You can find all that over at Betway right now. And if you don't have a membership, go there right now. Bet the beauties with Betway and join the action. You go to the QR code right in front of you there if you're watching, or go to the details section on the website and sign up for your new account. And even if you lose your first bet, you can get up to $200 credit back. Always bet responsibly. You must be 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. And one of those terms, unfortunately, for those in Ontario, is this deal is not available there as of yet. But good luck. Go over there right now. We got more football coming up. Thursday night football. Good one tomorrow in the NFL. Looking forward to it. Packers and Commanders teaming up there. Two good quarterbacks there in that one. So you can get some action on that over at Betway. Let's get to the Q&A. What do we got? CMO hockey training. Pierre, who do you feel is the deepest team in the Central? The Avs, the Stars, or the Jets? It's a good question.
I'm going to say the Jets.
Really? All right. I don't know if I can. I was thinking Jets, but up the middle. I'm going with the Jets too. Because I'm just looking up the middle, straight down to the goalie, Pierre, and I like it.
We'll see. I mean, the depth matters, but Dallas is obviously deep. I'm just concerned that there might be some stuff going on there. Not the nefarious. It just guys getting older and
new coach.
Yes, everything. It's different. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, next question. Randy Workman. What's up, Randy? The Leafs under the radar. Brought back Swedish prospect goalie Dennis Hildeby. Love that signing. Wondering if you like the Leafs bringing him back. Yes, I do.
Yeah, no, I do, because it's not very expensive, and they got a plan for for the future. They don't know if they're going to get Stolarz back or not, even though I think they will. And Wohl is a good goalie, but again, they need other goalies. So no, it's a good signing. It's not.
Yeah, I think the key there, it's a backup plan if they can't extend Stolarz. And Pierre, let's not forget, and I agree with you on Wohl, but he's had a lot of injury problems. So it's a good insurance policy. All right, next question. Franco, listening to a friend of the show, Jeff Marek, he's a good friend, to discuss Marner's role in Vegas. And it was interesting how he may be relied upon to shoot more playing with Eichel. Does Marner beat his career high of 35 goals with the Vegas Golden Knights this year?
I think he will. I really do. I think he will, because I think he'll be slotted appropriately. Eichel is not afraid to shoot it, but he likes to distribute. He likes to carry and distribute. And, I think that, I think he'll get unbelievable opportunities. And Mitch, if he knows he's to shoot, will probably shoot. So I do think he will.
I'd agree. All right, next question. Juice _031017. Pierre, 7 years ago today, the Canadians traded, Max Pacioretty for Nick Suzuki. What was your initial reaction to the trade at the time?
Really good trade for Montreal.
I remember Pierre saying that on with Mitch Melnick.
Mm-hmm.
They
Very
did.
good trade for Montreal.
Pierre, there's a story. I heard Mitch talking about this yesterday. There was a story probably months or maybe even a year after that trade that Cody Glass was the real target for the Canadians. Do you know if that was true or not?
I've heard that before too. I don't know whether that's true or not. I found a lot of stuff out afterwards. There were people in the Canadiens organization that probably they're not there anymore, that probably had some interest in Cody, but I still think upper management wanted Suzuki.
Well, it did great. That might be, would you say that was Bergeron's best move as a Canadiens GM?
It was a really good one. Honestly, I'd have to look at all of them just to make sure. That,
well, he did Weber for Subban. We can't forget that.
No, but hey, look at Subban went to the Stanley Cup final and played really well in Nashville. Like I know Shea had some tough times too at the beginning. He was an injured guy. I mean, so that trade was pretty good for both teams. But this one's Suzuki's. That was great. That's a pretty good trade.
All right, here we go. What's the next one? Pearl of Wisdom, congrats on your new gig, Pierre. Have you heard anything with Colorado and Natchez? Any truth that he views himself as a center, as I've heard from a few sources?
I didn't hear that about him as a center, except what I've, been hearing. I shouldn't say here. I haven't heard it. I've read it. So I don't know whether that's true or not. I don't know why you wouldn't want to play with Nathan McKinnon. I think it's just a starting point. Most teams today, they interchange lanes so much. You might be at a certain spot for a faceoff, but once the game starts, you're moving all over, especially if you're a puck possession team. Natchez is obviously a world-class talent. He's a tremendous talent. Why wouldn't you want to stay in Colorado? I don't know.
Wasn't he? I thought everyone around the league said he was getting traded, but he's still there. So I wouldn't trade him. Next question. Sound the siren. Guys, who would you say is the best number 2 pick of all time? I usually don't like lists, but I'm brain dead right now.
There's a guy that was picked by the Hartford Whalers named Christopher Pronger, who turned out to be a pretty good second overall pick.
Yeah. And I think we just spoke about one too.
Eichel was a pretty good second overall pick. I mean, you'd have to go back over time and look at them all. But that Pronger pick was amazing because when you look at the guys that went afterwards, they were pretty good. Korea went after him. Arnott went after him. Grattan went after him. Alexander Daig went 1 in that draft. But there have been some good second. It's hard for me not to say Pronger. It's hard for me not to.
Hey, maybe we'll be talking about Leo Carlson, who we just mentioned someday. He went number 2 as well. All right, next question. Juice _031017. Ryan Suter signed a PTO before training camp starts.
I don't know. I don't know if he will or won't, but here's the one thing. I still think he can play. He can't play the amount of minutes that he was. I think St. Louis was cutting him back appropriately. I'm fully prepared to tell you this. When I was in Ottawa, one of the first calls we made on free agency day was to Ryan. I made it. And, I felt terrible. But he said, I prefer to be in the United States rather than Canada at this point in my career, which I completely understood. So I still like him very much as a player. I just think he's a less than 20-minute a game player.
Yeah. As they're talking, I'm just trying to think of a team with a young defense that can maybe use a mentor.
I don't even know if it's a young defense. I think it's a team. If you think you're going to win, we did this with Gordy Roberts, and I'm really comfortable telling you this story. Gordy would have been probably 35, 36 right in there, and brought him in. He was playing down in Peoria, Illinois. He was playing for St. Louis's farm team, and we made a deal to get him. It was Scotty's idea. He came in, and Gordy was huge for the 2 cups we won. He played really well, but it's just because he was a really good depth player for us. Excuse me.
Bless you. Next question. Seamoke again. Pierre, I watched a lot of Dom Fensori. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah.
Okay. After an amazing career at BU,
excuse me,
they know how to produce the pros. The past 2 years with the Wolves, is there any chance he can become a full-time Cane this year?
I just wish he was a little bigger. But he's a really talented kid, and he plays with a lot of heart. Mm-hmm.
All right. Next question. Franco, what kind of season in both role and points do you expect from Gabriel Landeskog this coming season?
Depends on his health, obviously, but I mean, so far it seems like he's pretty good. I would say probably playing with McKinnon and Natchez, maybe we'll see. I would say anywhere from 60 to 75 points would be probably where it happens.
I wonder if they do any load management with him too, Pierre.
They might.
Yeah.
That's why I just don't know. I
Right.
don't know.
Exactly. All right, next question. Randy Workman. Everyone is saying the Leafs will move Kampf and Yarncroc to make room for Jack Roslovic. Do you think there's a market for them?
There is.
Oh, yeah.
They don't make a lot, and they're useful depth players. Kampf in particular, because he can take faceoffs and kill penalties. Yarncroc can play in a top six or a bottom six role because he moves around the ice well. I always felt that. I know I told Jimmy that. I thought Roslovic would end up in Toronto, whether it was just before camp or right when camp started. That's what I think will happen, but I don't know that.
Pierre, just quickly before, and we're just speaking of, guys that are still unsigned there. Just from being in the game, I know you're never an agent, so you haven't seen it from that point of view, but you know enough agents. At what point does a player who's still on the outside waiting to get signed, when do you decide that you're going to go the PTA route as opposed to trying to get a 1-year deal or what have you?
Well, PTO, just because you want to give the guy a sense of or feel out where he is as a player. Maybe you have some doubts internally. Not everybody is comfortable signing those things.
Right.
More times than not, you're signing a PTO because it's the last chance or it's the first chance.
Right.
It's not in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the hard part about doing PTOs.
Well, it's interesting. I saw our good friend Kevin Paul DuPont was writing about Matt Grzelcyk this past Sunday in his column, who's not signed yet. So I'm surprised at that. But he's like, they're adamant. Him and his agent are like, no, we're holding out for a deal. We're not doing a PTO. So I just was trying to find the balance there.
PTO is hard to do. I mean, there are very few. It's hard. I mean, I've seen some very good players have good camps, and there's no room for them, even though they've had really good camps. There's just, you look at some of these rookie camps now that are going on. There are guys that have NHL contracts that are playing, pretty significant roles in the development camps or camps. And they're not better than the other kids, but that's just how it works. That's just because they got NHL contracts. So that's the numbers game, but timing is everything and all this stuff. Just keep your head down and keep working, and you never know what can happen.
Yeah, and I almost wonder, Pierre, you take the PTO, even if you don't make that team, at least you're playing, you're staying in a playing groove, so to speak. So
no, and your people are watching you. People are watching you. Absolutely.
All right, next question. Juice, Pierre, how excited are you for the Canadians post-game shows with Tony this upcoming season?
Very. How could you not be? I think the Canadians are going to be really good. I have for a while, and I think a lot of their fans feel the same way. Are there holes? Yeah, they're not a perfect team, but the future's brilliant. The future's so brilliant there.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, congratulations again to the Sick Podcast Network on becoming the French broadcast affiliation of the Canadians AHL affiliate, the Laval Rocket. All right, next question. Billy Van Vagel. How closely do NHL teams monitor players in the ECHL? Realistically, how often do players there have a shot to climb the ranks? A lot more than last week. Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot. I had Shane Knighty down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, undrafted player out of the Western Hockey League, and I told him you're going to have a chance to do this, and I was hard on him. I pushed him pretty hard, and he moved up eventually to play for Detroit's farm team in Grand Rapids, and then all of a sudden he got an opportunity to go to Ottawa, and he was playing in the NHL I think a year later, and he played He played 8 or 9 years in the league. Yeah. So they're more than you think. They're more than you think that make that. I think they're 100. I could be wrong. I think it's like 182 or something that have made the jump eventually from the East Coast League to the NHL.
Yep. And the Sheriff eventually went on to become a depth player with the Boston Bruins and win a Stanley Cup in 2011. That's it for our questions today. Thanks, everyone. We appreciate it, as always. Our favorite part of the day. Thanks to Phil Bourque for joining us here with some great insight on Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. Thank you to Shane, working the boards up in Montreal. And thanks to everyone listening and watching. We appreciate it. Again, we'll be back tomorrow with our good friend from the Belfast Giants and former Boston University player and teammate of the late Mark Bavis. Join us here on 9/11 on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Until then, everyone, have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.